I hope I'm audible to everybody. Uh, Welcome,
Yes, ma'am.
Madri.
Hi, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. So nice to
Hi.
see you. So let's start
So
with it.
nice to see you too, finally.
Yeah,
Hi.
absolutely. A hearty welcome to all the students who have joined us, our esteemed guests, Miss Madri Kakoti, faculty members, and all our dear students who are here with us today. I, Preeti Disodia, convener Remedial Cell, along with my team, each member, each student, we are all very excited for this interactive session, and which is basically named Language Ka Baggage. And let's keep the regular protocols in place. Let's try to keep our microphones muted and our cameras on so that our resource person, our speaker can see you and the communication can be two ways. Because as you know, language needs two people at least to have a good conversation, right? So now let me request Srijita, who has been working with us as student coordinator. She's a very sincere student. And over to you, Srijita. You can go ahead. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good afternoon to one and all present here, respected teachers and my dear friends. On behalf of Remedial Cell Shivaji College, I, Srijita, welcome you all to our event, Language Ka Baggage. Through this event, we have attempted to sharpen our grasp of the language that English is, which will be beneficial for us in our future endeavors. I would like to share with you all that this academic year has been one big step for us at the Remedial Cell. We've started the cell with the hopes of learning language with the help of the best teachers and facilitators. Today's event is a part of this process. It is my greatest pleasure to welcome Miss Madri Kakoti from Lucknow University. She is an expert in general linguistics, sociolinguistics, neurolinguistics, and endangered languages. Her extremely engaging methods of teaching and interacting with the students makes her the teacher that she is. English can be a challenging language, and to understand its myriad aspects can be a challenging task. It is the work of a mentor who, with their erudition, can make the process both smooth and enriching. We welcome you, ma'am, and are very excited to hear what you have to share with us. Over to you, ma'am.
Oh, is it over to me directly?
Yes.
All right. It will be helpful if I can see myself in the middle of the screen. If you guys can, because right now I can see the poster.
Let's, I'm just removing the,
Is that possible? Like
yes, yes,
in
of course.
Zoom, we can spotlight someone.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing that. Yeah, I've removed the shared screen and I'm highlighting you.
All right.
Yes.
However, I can see you guys. I cannot. Anyway, doesn't matter because अभी क्या है ना Zoom और Google वगैरह पे आदत हो गई है to see yourself on screen
So maybe
and
we can do it.
usually even
We can
no,
turn off our cameras, and that way only your screen could be.
no. I still need to see you. It's all right. It's all right. It's all chill. It's fine. Thank you very much. Okay. So first of all, thank you all of you. I can see the number of participants increasing. It's 95 already. I have not spoken to this huge an audience, of course, other than the lives which I do on my Instagram. I have not spoken to this large of an audience. So thank you very much for turning up. Thank you very much, Preeti ji, for inviting me. And I am Srijita, yes, and Srijita and the principal of your college. Thank you very much for organizing or having giving a platform for a remedial cell, because it's not very easy to convince sometimes the authorities that such an organization or such a platform is required for the students. So thank you very much, sir, and all of you, and thank you all of you for coming, faculty members. I don't really know which one of you are faculty members. I can just see the initials, but I would still like to thank you for having me here today. जैसा कि how much time do I have? I just need to know शुरुआत में. Around 40-45 minutes?
Absolutely. You can take 45 minutes, 50 minutes, no problem.
All right. I just want to, say all the things which I want to say and, even make a little bit of sense for all the students who are listening to me. Since the title of this talk itself is language ka baggage, which is a mixture of Hindi and English. I will keep my talk also as in a mixture of Hindi and English so that every one of you can understand. Or jaisa ki I can assume that because it's a remedial English platform, so not all of you are 100% confident about speaking or using the language, right? Like I said in the video which I sent you for to publicize this particular talk and everything, I said I will be giving you practical tips about how to go about learning English language, how to practically understand or practically gear yourself up in order to create a psyche which is confident enough to use the language in all forms, like in the written forms, in spoken forms, even in your comprehension. Okay? In my linguistics classes, one of the first things which I tell my students, जो पहली चीज हम लोग बताते हैं कि when you know a language, what do you mean when you know a language? What do people mean when we know a language? कभी आपको कहते हो नहीं नहीं मुझे अंग्रेजी आती है या मुझे हिंदी आती है या your mother tongues, you say that you know your mother tongues. How is that? What is the meaning of that knowing? उस knowing का मतलब होता है कि you know what is grammatical and what is ungrammatical. ठीक है? So that's just it. आपको पता है कि कौन सी चीज grammatical है, कौन सी चीज ungrammatical है. That's the meaning of knowing a language. When you know what is grammatical and ungrammatical, you can use it in your language, you can use it in your speech, you can use it in your written communication, you can use it to even understand something which has been spoken to you. Now, अंग्रेजी लगता है कि बहुत difficult language है, बहुत tough भाषा है, लेकिन it's as difficult or as easy as any other language. All right? This is something which I want to put on the table first right away and get you to understand कि इसमें कोई अलग difficulty level नहीं है. It's as easy as the other languages. आप लोग को लगता होगा कि आपकी मदर टंग जो है it's easier, your mother tongue is easier, इतना आसानी से हो जाता है, इतना वो हो जाता है, but then specifically, for example, I'll give the example of Hindi because I am assuming that many of you are speakers of Hindi as well. Hindi mein there is this thing called grammatical gender, right? Grammatical gender means every object in the world has an arbitrary gender assigned to it, and that gender is not equal to the natural gender of the object. ठीक है? जैसे कुर्सी है, टेबल है, प्लेन है, गाड़ी है, all of them have a gender in themselves. कुर्सी टूट गई, टेबल मेज टूट गई, गाड़ी चली गई, but plane उड़ गया. There is no reason why plane is gaya and गाड़ी and train or गाड़ी everything is pulling, strilling. ठीक है? कोई वजह नहीं है. It's an arbitrary thing. For somebody who does not know Hindi, do you realize how difficult that is? For me, who learned Hindi in the when I was in class 1 or 2 onwards, मेरे लिए आसान था क्योंकि मुझे सिखाने वाले जो लोग थे वो हिंदी कम्युनिटी से थे, हिंदी बेल्ट से थे, and they would speak this flawless wonderful Hindi. और सुन के मुझे acquisition वो हुआ था. But for my mother, who has never been taught the language, who learned it with me when I was in school, वो आज भी confuse करती है, ट्रेन आएगा कि जाएगा, प्लेन आएगा कि जाएगा, रोटी खाएंगे कि खाएगा. ठीक है? And not just that, roti and roti. ठीक है? Roti. My dad, I remember this one thing that हम लोग बहुत छोटे थे, class 4th में, all of us had come to Delhi दर्शन के लिए हम लोग आए थे, और मैं, मम्मी पापा थे और मेरे दादा दादी थे. And my dad was looking everywhere because my grandfather was vegetarian, and my dad, we were staying in Paharganj, and my dad was looking everywhere for roti and sabzi, sirf roti sabzi. And then he would go to these places and the dukan and say कि भैया तुम्हारे पास रोटी है रोटी. So he's like, nobody would understand क्या रोटी क्या होता है, रोटी नहीं है, अरे रोटी ये है तो यहाँ तुम बना तो रहे भैया, अच्छा भैया रोटी की बात कर रहे. So it's not just the grammatical gender, but sounds are also very particular and peculiar and to certain language, to all the languages. हर भाषा की एक phonetic inventory होती है. ठीक है? Now, what do I mean when I say phonetic inventory? All of us know what an inventory is, right? An inventory is a collection of items. It's a collection of things. So sounds ki bhi, phones ki bhi ek phonetic inventory hoti hai of every language. And you, as a speaker of those languages, you have this phonetic inventory. अब जैसे जैसे आप language जोड़ते जाते हैं, your phonetic inventory keeps increasing. Now, all of us know that there is a limited number of sounds. Sounds तो limited होते हैं. उनका permutation combination करके आप unlimited words and unlimited sentences बना सकते हैं. एक second के लिए आप सोचो तो शायद words भी limited होंगे. We won't know all the languages, all the words in a language at one time, but अगर आप सोचो तो हो सकता है the words are also limited, but the permutations and combinations of those words and the way you can make them into sentences, that is unlimited. है ना? So जैसे जैसे आप phonetic inventory जोड़ते जाते हो, जैसे जैसे you are exposed to certain languages, you are exposed to more languages in your life, you keep joining or you keep adding to your phonetic, your personal phonetic inventory. ठीक है? आपको कितने sounds समझ में आते हैं, आपको कितने sounds आप उन्हें differentiate कर पाते हो and use कर पाते हो. ठीक? For example, I'll give you one very small example. अभी हमारे पूरे talk में मैं कम से कम ऐसे बहुत सारे एग्जांपल्स दूंगी, ओके, बिकॉज आई हैव दिस हैबिट ऑफ टीचिंग यूजिंग एग्जांपल्स, बिकॉज आई थिंक मुझे लगता है कि बहुत इजी होता है जब आप एग्जांपल्स के थ्रू समझते हो, और मुझे भी बचपन में भी और आज भी इनफैक्ट व्हेन आई रीड समथिंग, व्हेन आई एम स्टडीइंग समथिंग, इट्स इजियर फॉर मी टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हेन देयर इज एन एग्जांपल. मैं आई बिलोंग फ्रॉम असम, मैं असम से हूँ. असम को आप लोग असम कहते हैं, हिंदी में असम कहते हैं, बट एक्चुअली द वर्ड इज अहोम, ओके, अहोम. ट्राई एंड pronounce this like you hear me say it. Try and pronounce it. Ahom. All right? Ahom. It's not ahom. It's not akhom. It's ahom. Ha. Okay? Now, all of you who are, you know, maybe used to a little bit of Urdu, who can say, let's say, खूबसूरत जिसको बोलना आता हो, खूबसूरत, not खूबसूरत, okay? खूबसूरत जिसे बोलना आता हो, you probably will be able to pronounce ahom. Why? Because that particular sound is in your phonetic inventory. ठीक है? लेकिन usually her is not available to speakers of Hindi and English, and that's the reason they use her or ka to replace it. जिस तरह से you might have seen French people can't say the word or cannot pronounce the, जो the वाला होता है, the, this, though, that, they cannot pronounce the, and that's why they replace it with the closest sounding z. This, that, etc. You might have seen it in some caricatures or people who try to do French accent. They usually pick this up. Okay? All right. Now, why am I talking about phonetic inventory and why am I talking about accents and why am I talking about these sounds, etc.? क्योंकि अंग्रेजी बोलने के लिए और अंग्रेजी सीखने के लिए, अंग्रेजी बोलना, how to speak well. Speaking is probably the last step which comes when you are learning a language. It's the last step of, you know, it's the last step which comes in the journey of you knowing a language. क्योंकि आप खुद imagine करो, when you were a child, when you were born, when you were an infant, आपको अपना पहला शब्द बोलने में कितना समय लगा होगा? Probably you were 1.5 साल का, or if you were very quick, if you had a lot of linguistic input, शायद 1 साल 2 महीने या 1 साल 4 महीने max. उससे पहले आप, it's not quite possible for you to be speaking anything other than blabbering and blabbing and blah blah blah, papa, mama, ये बस. ठीक है? Why does that happen? You were born and you have so much linguistic input around you, right? So जब आप पैदा हुए थे, पैदा होने के तुरंत बाद से आप बोलना नहीं सीखते. You take some time. And why is that time taken? That you take that time because आपको linguistic input मिल रहा है. You are getting linguistic input. चारों तरफ से you are listening as a child. You cannot imagine how advanced our human brain is, and you cannot imagine how resilient or how amazing this little human being, this infant is, जो अभी तक पैदा, जिसको ये तक नहीं पता है कि आग के पास जाऊंगा तो जल जाऊंगा, लेकिन उसे ये पता है कि linguistically उसका brain चल रहा है. It's like a He is, or he or she, the child is filtering through all this linguistic input which is coming. इतनी सारी language उसको सुनाई दे रही है, कोई topic का उसको पता नहीं है, किसी context का उसको पता नहीं है. The child does not know कि apple को apple कहते हैं, या ball को ball कहते हैं, या केले को केला कहते हैं, या anything, और या मम्मा को मम्मा कहते हैं, पापा को पापा कहते हैं. They don't know anything, yet the brain is filtering through all that information, right, constantly. And as an infant also, to learn your mother tongue, you take all this time, you take 1.5 years, you take 2 years, और उसके बाद जाके आप एक comprehensible sentence बोल पाते, ठीक है. और वो सेंटेंस भी सिर्फ अभी 2-3 शब्द का ही होता है, एंड उसके बाद आपको समय लगता है up at least 5 years to completely acquire your mother tongue, to completely acquire your first language, ठीक है. Now this word that I'm using, acquire or learn, दोनों में difference है. Acquire क्या होता है? When you acquire something, you absorb it from your surroundings. आप अपने चारों तरफ के environment से, उसके rules, उसके sounds, उसकी सारी चीजें आप उसे absorb करते हैं, और उसको absorb करने के बाद your brain subconsciously creates the rules, creates the grammar, creates the phonetic inventory, and finally tells you कि अच्छा, आपसे ये सवाल किया जा रहा है या आपको ये sentence कहा जा रहा है, इसके जवाब में आप ये sentence बना के बोल सकते हो. It will be perfectly grammatical, ठीक है. Now imagine that happening with a second language. Now, if when you are growing up, you are surrounded by several languages, जो होता है when there are parents who speak 2 different languages. For example, me and my husband speaks Hindi, I speak Assamese as my first language. So ऐसे घरों में, when there are 2 languages being spoken, the children are able to acquire more than 1 language easily. And the faculty of such children and the tendency of such children to acquire languages is also बहुत अच्छे से उनकी tendency, मतलब because the brain is easy, the brain finds it easy to, you know, create these inventories, create these rules, and create these lexicons, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the key is to expose yourself to the sounds of the language. Now, why am I talking about all this? Is because that's the first, when I said that English speaking में अंग्रेजी भाषा हो या कोई भी भाषा हो, speaking आपका आखिरी step होता है उसके सीखने में. पहला step जो होता है वो है to listen. The first step, even when you are born, you listen for minimum of 1.5 years before pronouncing something, before saying something. All right. इसी तरह से, in any second language itself, the first step or the first thing that you need to do is to listen. आज की English pedagogy में या आज की language pedagogy में, you start using the language from day 1 itself. ठीक है, आप day 1 से उस language को use करना शुरू कर देते हैं. For example, when I was learning Spanish and I was in my Spanish class, day 1 itself, I entered the classroom, the teacher asks me, ¿Qué nombre es? And I'm like, I have no idea what the person is talking about, because मुझे नहीं पता है कि मैं पहली क्लास है मेरी, तो आप मुझे पहली क्लास में कैसे एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो कि मैं आपको सवाल का जवाब दूंगी. He asked me, ¿Qué nombre es? But I thought probably पहली क्लास है, पहली बार है, मुझसे पूछ रहे होंगे तुम्हारा नाम क्या है, तो मैंने बोल दिया Madri Kakoti. And the person was like, and the teacher was very happy and like, yes, sí, muy bien. And I was also very excited कि अच्छा, okay, maybe I understood. So the moment the teacher asked me ¿Qué nombre es? And I answered, I thought, okay, maybe nombre, it sounds similar to name, so its meaning is name, and que sounds similar to, like, the first word usually in English is what, so probably que is what. So immediately, without without him telling me anything, without him teaching me anything, he actually taught me the meaning of 2 different words, right? So आज के language pedagogy में आप शुरुआत से ही बोलना सीखते हो, so शुरुआत से ही बोलना शुरू करते हो. क्यों? Because it's extremely important for you to listen to what you yourself are talking about. ठीक है, आप कैसे बोल रहे हो, आपके मुंह से कौन से साउंड्स निकल रहे हैं, आपके मुंह से क्या प्रोनाउंस हो रहा है, that also is extremely important. And that's how आज की language pedagogy की क्लास शुरू. So that means that listening is so extremely important that listening down. In fact, अगर आपने कभी भी TOEFL की क्लास दी होगी, की होगी, या TOEFL का टेस्ट दिया होगा, या IELTS का टेस्ट दिया होगा, all these different English की डायग्नोसिस की जो टेस्ट्स होते हैं, इंग्लिश असेसमेंट की जो टेस्ट्स होते हैं, all of them have a separate section for your listening comprehension. Why is that? क्योंकि बोलने के लिए सुनना भी बहुत जरूरी है. In order to, okay, so if you ask me a question and without answering, without listening to your question, if I start going on rambling on, will that mean anything? क्योंकि मैंने तो तुम्हारे क्वेश्चन का जवाब ही नहीं दिया, right? So in order to understand something, in order to speak, you have to listen first. So listening is the first step that you need. Now listening, now here is where my advice to you comes in. ठीक, I know कि सबको, everyone is looking for a quick fix solution. हर किसी को लगता है कि अच्छा नहीं एक हफ्ते में अंग्रेजी सिखा दोगे 30 दिन में अंग्रेजी सिखा दोगे. Like I have seen advertisements by English speaking courses or organizations or institutions which advertise कि नहीं 30 दिन में अंग्रेजी सीखे या 7 दिन में अंग्रेजी सीखे. You cannot imagine there's one here in Lucknow which says 3 दिन में अंग्रेजी सीखे. I have no idea how that works, but it's not possible. ठीक, क्यों? क्योंकि it's a long process. It's a very fruitful process if you listen to what I'm saying, if you do all the steps. I guarantee you 100% you are going to learn it. But अगर आप यहाँ इस क्लास में या इस लेक्चर में ये सोच के आए होगे कि टिप्स मिलेंगे, ट्रिक्स मिलेंगे, हैक्स मिलेंगे, आजकल everybody is about hacks, like 5-minute crafts and 5-minute hacks. There is no hack to learning a language quickly. Okay? The only key is consistency. Consistency is the only thing that is going to get. I am being muted every now and then. If one of you does not like what I am talking about, you can let me know. But if you mute me, I have troubles understanding, like when I am muted.
Sorry, Madri, I am requesting all the students to please turn their video because I feel there is lag in the whole video, so the dialogues are lagging.
Okay.
So I would request to turn off your video, and please do not turn off the microphone because that defeats the purpose of this whole event. So if you don't like the event, then you are most welcome to leave.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
that's what I was talking about. That if you don't like what I'm talking about, you can please go ahead. But
please don't mute the speaker. My kind request, and also my kind request to organizers to please check the settings so that people cannot mute the speaker. Yeah, go ahead.
And now since all cameras are off, I know I'm spotlighted, but for some reason I still can't see myself in the middle of this. But anyways, moving on. That I will lose my train of thought. I was talking about consistency because, see, like I said, today's generation and your generation, a little bit of my generation as well, क्योंकि हम लोग भी आजकल बहुत Instagram वगैरह
I'm so sorry, Madri. Pushwant or Ritik, can you please see who's trying to do this? This is really bad. I'm so sorry, Madri. Just give me 1 minute to. Can you try unmuting yourself, Madri, now?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So yes, consistency. There is no hack. We have our attention span has reduced a lot. We are used to seeing content which is 30 seconds long, and now, in fact, in Instagram is recommending that people make content which is 7 to 10 seconds long. और 7 to 10 seconds में क्या होगा? 7 to 10 seconds में एक sentence भी हम लोग बोलते नहीं हैं, and it takes longer than 7 to 10 seconds to even say to even frame and say a sentence of with meaning. तो इसीलिए हमारा attention span बहुत reduce हो गया है. But that is actually harming us. So we are all looking for hacks and tricks and tips, etc. I'm telling you, as far as learning a language is concerned, there are no such tips and tricks and hacks. You have to give it a minimum of 3 months. If you at least know the sounds of the language, जिस तरह से हमारे लेवल है आजकल के डेट में, या फिर आप लोग में से कईयों का लेवल होगा, आपको अंग्रेजी के साउंड्स पता है, you know the words, but sometimes you mess up your grammar. You are not you're not confident enough to use grammar in a certain way. You're not confident enough to speak in a certain way. With you think in any बोलेंगे तो ungrammatical लगेगा, अच्छा नहीं लगेगा, sound खराब होगा, या you might have a little bit of your mother tongue influence and things like that, and you might have a little bit of accent. तो आप लोग को ऐसा लगता है, for all of you, the trick is consistency. You have to give it 3 months. 3 months में there is one exercise which I would like to share with you, जो आप लोग को करना ही करना है, and that is the exercise of active listening. Active listening, how is active listening different from listening? Listening होता है कि जैसे आप अभी मुझे सुन रहे हो, right? आपको गाना सुनाई दे रहा है, मेट्रो में जा रहे हो, कार में ईयरफोन लगा रखा है, गाना सुनाई दे रहा है, या कार में आप कोई ई बुक भी सुन रहे हो, ऑडियो बुक सुन रहे हो, किसी का लेक्चर सुन रहे हो, कोई पुराना लेक्चर है which has been uploaded on YouTube, the video चल रहा है लेकिन you are just listening to it. That's just listening. That's not active listening. What is active listening? Active listening essentially is when you choose to listen. You have set aside time during your timetable. आप पूरे दिन में काम
Madri, I have just changed the setting. Now I think nobody will be able to unmute you. So sorry for this.
No, it's all right. It's all right. These are all students. Sometimes they pull pranks on their teachers, so it's fine. Okay. So yes, active listening. Active listening is something that you choose to listen to do. Then you choose to do. All right. So आपको अपने टाइम टेबल में आधा घंटा 45 मिनट साइड निकाल के रखना है, where you would definitely sit down and just engage in this act, just engage in the exercise of listening to something. ठीक है? You set aside time, you put on your earphones, you have a pen and paper ready in front of you. Why the pen and paper? We'll talk about in a little while. But for the time being, just know that you need to have a pen and paper ready. And the most important thing is you need to commit to it. आप active listening करते समय you cannot be multitasking. ठीक है? आप active listening कर रहे हो और आप सब्जी भी बना रहे हो, सब्जी काट रहे हो, अगर अकेले हॉस्टल में रहते हो तो मैगी बना रहे हो. No. That's not active listening. Active listening is when you are sitting down on your table and you have your earphones on and you are consciously listening to whatever resource that you have chosen with all your faculties. आप सुन रहे हो, you are aware, you are present at that moment and you are listening to it. All right, that's the first step towards active listening. The second one is, what are you going to listen to? क्या सुनोगे? ठीक है? अंग्रेजी सीखने में या किसी भी भाषा को सीखने के लिए one of the most important things that you can have is a reading habit. One of the most influential and one of the most fruitful habits that you can have. रीडिंग हैबिट होना बहुत ही जरूरी है, क्योंकि जब तक आप पढ़ोगे नहीं तब तक आप अपने आइडियाज को आप जब भी बोलते हो, whenever you are speaking, whenever you are having a conversation with someone, whenever you are giving a lecture, ठीक है, एक के बाद एक आपके थॉट्स का आना बहुत जरूरी है. You need to organize your thoughts even when you are writing. आप एग्जाम में भी अगर आप लिखते हो, कभी कभी आप देखोगे असाइनमेंट्स में, this happened when I was doing my BA in the press college, that हम लोग कभी-कभी किसी असाइनमेंट में मुझे आउट ऑफ 16 नंबर का असाइनमेंट होता था। आई डोंट नो आप लोग के टाइम में कितना नंबर का असाइनमेंट होता है। 16 नंबर का असाइनमेंट होता था। कभी-कभी मुझे 16 नंबर के असाइनमेंट में 11 मिल रहे हैं, 12 मिल रहे हैं, और कभी-कभी मुझे 8 मिल रहा है, 9 मिल रहा है। आई वाज not sure why that was happening. Then one day I sat down with one of my teachers and like, ma'am, why is this happening with this? Sometimes I get 11, 12. What is wrong with my writing? What is going on? And then she pointed out to me that sometimes your ideas are very organized. They come one after the other. One idea flows into the next. Okay? And sometimes they are not. When they are haphazard, when one idea does not flow into the next, then the idea that then the answer to the entire assignment, the assignment's question, that's not clear enough. And when it does not come clearly enough, even though it is right, you lose points. So उसी तरह से एक reading habit, when you develop a reading habit, what happens when you're reading something? When you're reading something, वो एक के बाद एक ideas आते जाते हैं और आप उसको पढ़ते जाते हो, आप उसे समझते जाते हो। उससे होता क्या है? Like I said, your brain is an amazing organ. The brain starts realizing, oh, this is how you organize ideas. Maybe I can also organize my ideas in the same way. जितना ज़्यादा आप पढ़ोगे, जितना ज़्यादा आप अपने ब्रेन को सैंपल्स देते हो, like एक सक्सेसफुल साइंटिफिक एक्सपेरिमेंट के लिए you need to have a lot of samples. ठीक, आपको वही रिजल्ट हर सैंपल में जब दिखाई देगा, that means that your experiment has been successful. उसी तरह से when you are reading as many books as you can, as many kinds of books as you can, the brain starts to realize, अच्छा, this is how you organize an idea. पहले ये होता है, फिर ये होता है, फिर ये होता है. Usually जैसे हम लोग को पता है novels वगैरह में, किसी भी short story में, किसी भी work of fiction में, there are characters, then there is character development, there is a problem which comes, then the problem का solution आता है, and then there is conclusion. This is the usual way. ये सबसे basic तरीका है जो which is in how a work of fiction or a short story etc. is organized. ठीक, ना यही चीज आपका ब्रेन कई पॉइंट्स में डिवाइड करता है और कई बार उसको देखता है कि ओके फाइन, दिस इज हाउ थिंग्स आर ऑर्गेनाइज्ड, दिस इज हाउ आई कैन आल्सो ऑर्गेनाइज समथिंग एंड आई कैन आल्सो create something. And that way of that habit of organization is reflected not just in your writing, it's also reflected in your speech, in your conversations. People start listening to you more, people start understanding you more, you become more comprehensive. So reading Okay, can you hear me now? All right, I hope so. Anyway, moving on. So reading habit, you have to develop a reading habit. So reading habit के समय में भी आप क्या पढ़े, that is also important. And listening के समय में भी आप क्या सुने, that's also important. Now I have a list of 10 things, 10 sources, 10 audio books and podcasts which you can listen to. And I also have a list of 10 my recommendations of books that you can start reading if you do not have a reading habit. Because I'm assuming not all of you are from English literature. And agar aap log English literature ke nahi hai, to usually students who are not from the English literature background do not have, I should not say that because my brother is not from the literature background and he does have a reading habit. So I hope all of you do have reading habits, but if you don't, it's high time, because if you want to improve your English, then that is the most practical thing that I can suggest. You need to pick up a book and you need to start reading. Okay? Anyway, I was talking about listening. Active listening mein aap kaun sa resource chune? What exactly should you listen to? Just like while developing a reading habit, while developing a listening habit as well, it's the same thing. You have to find your niche. Niche matlab something which you like, something which you love listening to. For example, with me, I love thrillers. I love horror books, and I love horror stories and horror novels and murder mysteries. Agatha Christie was something like बचपन में Agatha Christie पढ़ना शुरू किया था और खत्म करके ही दम लिया था, इस तरीके का था. So Agatha Christie, Nancy Drew, all of these things I used to read. So I love that kind of genre, and that is how I'm 100% confident that I think that is exactly how I found my confidence in speaking English or writing English, or even found the confidence to go ahead and do English literature at one point of time as my bachelor's, because I started very young, and I started reading a lot of things. So find your niche. You need to find what do you want to study. What do you want to read? आप ऐसी कौन सी चीज है जिसे आप पढ़ना चाहते हो, ठीक है, आप सुनना चाहते हो. आज की डेट में there is so much of media and there are so many ways in which you can, if you don't want to read something, अगर आपको पढ़ने में boring लगता है, बुरा लगता है, start listening to it. It's amazing how many books are available as audiobooks and how many podcasts are available which are going to help you out. I do have a recommendation of the 10 podcasts, etc., and the 10 books. I will be sharing that with Preeti ma'am. You can have that, or you can just go ahead and copy that from my it's both on my YouTube channel and my Instagram handle as well. So as far as finding your niche is concerned, choose something that you love, and more important is choose a comprehensible input. Comprehensible input matlab choose something that has the possibility of you understanding it. आप अगर let's say आपकी English let's say beginners के third level पे है या intermediate level पे आपकी अंग्रेजी है, if you choose something, let's say quantum physics, if you choose a text on quantum physics, or Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time, even though Brief History of Time is written in a fairly simple language, the concepts in it are quite complicated. So if you choose to listen to those things, I'm pretty sure that you probably will not be able to understand it. So that defeats the purpose of listening to it. So when you are listening to something, you have to choose something that is comprehensible, जो आपको थोड़ा समझ में आए, ठीक है? And because then only you will have the curiosity to look further. You will come across words which you will not understand. You will come across references which you will not understand. And जो इंसान की natural curiosity होती है, उस natural curiosity की वजह से you will start finding the answers out, and that journey is what is going to take you towards a better understanding of the language and a better output of the language. Input सही होगा तभी output आएगा. अगर आप input नहीं डालते हो और आप without that input you are assuming that नहीं, मेरे को 3 महीने में अंग्रेजी बोलना सीखना है, but you have not read anything, you have not learned anything, heard anything, you have not practiced it at all, you have not written anything, you do not have a writing habit, it's not going to work. Trust me, it's not going to work no matter how much you try. Okay? So that's why a comprehensible input is extremely necessary. Find out where you are, find out which level do you think you are at. अगर आपको लगता है कि आपको एकदम बच्चों वाली जो राइम्स है या बच्चों की स्टोरीज है वहां से शुरू करनी है, go ahead and do it. Because your brain is not a bacha ka brain, no, your brain is a developed brain. Your brain will be able to comprehend, and your brain will be able to figure out all the algorithms that the English language has to offer better from a bacha wala story. Okay? You listen to those stories, and within a week you will find yourself graduating from those stories to intermediate level stories. And when you find yourselves, ठीक है, नहीं ये भी मुझे समझ में आने लग गया है, अब मैं थोड़े से और एडवांस में जा सकता हूँ, ठीक है? You will find that YouTube is filled with such input, and YouTube is one of the most amazing resources that you can use in your English speaking journey. आप अपनी इस journey में, इस सफर में YouTube का जितना इस्तेमाल करें आपके लिए उतना बेटर है. But always remember, do not, मेरा ये suggestion है, because YouTube is filled with instructional videos. जिस तरह से अभी मेरी आपके साथ क्लास हो रही है, ऐसे इंस्ट्रक्शनल वीडियोस होंगे कि आप ये पढ़िए, ये पढ़िए, ये पढ़िए. I would recommend not listening to those, because those do not help you unless of course you are working on those. अगर वो कह रहे हैं कि आप ये काम करो या ये एक्सरसाइज करो और आप उसके साथ वो एक्सरसाइज कर रहे हो, then it's going to work. But only listening to those videos is not going to work. You have to put in the work as well. ठीक? YouTube has lots of stories which are there, which have been created for the purpose of, let's say, for children. Sometimes they're also created for adults as well. क्योंकि you must know the name of Benedict Cumberbatch, जिन्होंने अभी Sherlock में Sherlock का रोल किया था. He has narrated the entire Sherlock Holmes series. and those are available on Audible, and they're also a few of those stories are also available on YouTube. I have read the entire Sherlock Holmes series, लेकिन मेरे को Benedict Cumberbatch की voice में सुनना था, इसलिए I went through the entire series one more time. So you have to have this kind of, ये पागलपन जो है ये थोड़ा सा होना पड़ेगा. Or jab, when you find the niche, when you find the genre that you love, let's say you love romance novels, let's say you love romantic movies, you love romantic stories, you love love stories, you love science fiction. When you find the niche that you want, when you find the genre that you love, usko aap sunna shuru कीजिए, and trust me, you are going to only benefit from this exercise. ठीक है? अगर कोई भी benefit, अगर zero benefit हुआ, तो कम से कम entertainment तो होगा. And ऐसा तो हो ही नहीं सकता कि benefit ना हो, because when you're listening to things, your brain is an amazing organ, and it's soaking up all that knowledge, it's soaking up all the information, and it's creating all these permutations and combinations, understanding कि अच्छा language इस तरीके से बोली जाती है, ये भी possible है, ये भी frame, इस तरह से भी हम sentence को frame कर सकते हैं, इस तरह से भी हम idea को frame कर सकते हैं. So you need to choose comprehensible input, because remember, without input there is no output. कुछ जाना पड़ेगा तभी कुछ बाहर आएगा. All right? Then I want to advise, keep changing your medium. आप जिस मीडियम में सुन रहे हैं उसको चेंज कीजिए. कभी आप पॉडकास्ट सुनिए, कभी आप वीडियोस देखिए, कभी ऑडियो बुक्स, कभी डिफरेंट स्पीकर्स. You don't necessarily have to just listen to one speaker continuously or one person continuously. या एक ही तरीके के book all the time. Keep changing it up. Because जितनी ज्यादा sources आपके पास होंगे, जितनी ज्यादा variety होगी, उतना variety आपको अच्छा. Now, obviously, like when I said that you need to find your genre, you need to find your niche. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप उसके साथ ही stick करते रहो. But even if you are stuck to that one particular genre, you will find different books, you will find different speakers, you will find different authors. जैसे उसमें thriller genre में ही you have Stephen King, you have Sidney Sheldon, you have Roald Dahl, you have James Patterson. Now I know James Patterson का नाम मुझे बाकी के साथ नहीं लेना चाहिए था, लेकिन फिर भी he's a popular Grisham. You have John Grisham का stories. Now you also have Jon Nesbo. Jon Nesbo is the Jack Reacher. And yeah, you have all these different authors, like you read different authors की बातें आप सुनोगे, different speakers को आप सुनोगे, you will find all the different ways in which the language can be used. ठीक है? So keep changing your mediums, and finally listen as much as possible, as often as possible. जितना आप इस एक्टिव लिसनिंग के एक्सरसाइज को टाइम दे सकते हो, जितना कंसिस्टेंटली दे सकते हो, हर दिन 1 घंटा, हर दिन 45 मिनट आपको साइड में रखने हैं, you are able to do it, it's going to 100% help you, trust. Give it 3 months and you will be speaking like a pro. One recommendation which I have as far as a resource is concerned is TED Talks. TED Talks were extremely beneficial when I was also I used to listen to TED Talks in Spanish, because when I was learning Spanish, I used to listen to Spanish TED Talks. So TED Talks मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा helpful लगे थे, because first of all they're always informative. They're informative, they're inspirational, they're motivational, and you learn so many new things about humanity, about human race, and about the struggles of different people and how they overcame those struggles. They're extremely inspirational. So मुझे लगता है TED Talks is something that I can recommend to you without any hassle. And all of you, आप सब लोग कोई भी, और most importantly TED Talks जो होते हैं बहुत छोटे भी होते हैं. They are always 15 to 17 minutes. कोई 1 घंटे का लंबा आपको TED Talk नहीं मिलेगा. Short talks होते हैं, and they're very to the point. They are very organized. एक के बाद एक ideas follow होते हैं, and the person speaks without fumbling, the person speaks without any repetition. So it's always better to, model yourself in those terms. उन terms में अगर आप अपने आप को model करते हो तो बहुत अच्छा रहता है. ठीक है? The next exercise that you need to do is, while you are actively listening, is to have a pen and paper. जैसे मैंने कहा था कि pen paper आपके पास होना चाहिए. Now you must be guessing कि मैं क्या बोलने जा रही हूँ. Pen paper है, note down the words that you are finding difficult, find their meanings. Yes, that is exactly what I'm going to say. But the order is a little bit different. While you are listening, you are bound to come across words which you do not understand, which you are not familiar with. When you do that, when you have that, what you need to do is note down the phrases, note down the words, and don't worry about it. Keep listening to your resource. अगर आपको जरूरत है उसको pause कर लीजिए and then write it down, but do not look for the meaning right away. अभी नहीं चाहिए, अभी बस हमको जो समझ में नहीं आ रहा है उसका मीनिंग, उस शब्द को हमें लिख लेना है. We do not want to interrupt our train of thought when we are listening to something. Write it down, finish listening to the entire resource. Figure out, do you understand the meaning of the entire resource without finding out the meaning of, without the meanings of those words? Maybe you do a little bit, क्योंकि हमारा brain इस तरह से काम करता है कि we guess कि किस तरीके से या इस चीज का मतलब क्या होगा, we guess it. So what happens is, now after you have finished listening to it, now you can go ahead and find out the meanings. ठीक है? Do not listen to the resource again. Just find the meaning of the sounds of the words that you didn't understand. You find the meaning of those words. Okay, ये इसका meaning ये है, इसका meaning ये है, etc., etc. You keep it in your brain. You ruminate about them for at least 5 minutes. सोचो उनके बारे में. अच्छा, इस शब्द को का मतलब ये है, इस शब्द को यहाँ यूज हुआ था, ये शब्द यहाँ पर यूज हुआ था, इस तरह से यूज हुआ था. ठीक? You ruminate about, you think about them. You little bit आप अपने दिमाग में ही उसे process कीजिए. Now go back and listen to your resource. And that's why I insist on having your resources not more than 15 to 20 minutes, क्योंकि आप 1 घंटे में आपको ये exercise भी करनी है. Listen to your resource again, and now you place the words which you did not understand in the resource, and you realize, oh, अच्छा, इसका तो ये meaning है. All right. The next step is to use these words throughout the day. You use these words, आपको इन words का meaning पता चल गया है. Now you have to use them in your conversations. Use them in your conversations with your partners, with your friends, with your parents, with your in conversations. और अगर कोई भी नहीं मिले आपको बात करने के लिए, just create words, like make up sentences and write them down. That is also going to help you, because आपको अपनी vocabulary को increase करना है. You will find that when you have a strong vocabulary, you have better ways of expressing yourself to someone. ठीक है? That's the third exercise. Point number 4 is, exercise number 4 is mirroring the sounds. Now, when you are listening to different speakers, every speaker speaks in a particular way. ठीक है? किसी का accent होता है, कभी sometimes you might pick up a British resource, sometimes you might pick up an American resource. Every person, every area has an accent. Every geographical region has an accent. Now, I'm not saying कि आप उनके accent को copy करो या उनके accent को mirror करो. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is pay attention to the sounds and try to mirror how they are using these sounds in their sentences. ठीक है? In these words, in their words. So mirroring is an essential. It's an essential exercise when you are doing listening. I'm sorry, my dog is going berserk for some reason. But yeah. And finally, the final point, the final thing which I want to tell you, which want to let you know, is to be patient. One second. My apologies.
In the meanwhile, I would request all the students, if they have any queries, they can just keep the questions ready or post them in the chat box, and our speaker can answer them. Thank you.
Yes, I can. All right. So yeah, the last thing is be patient. You have, I'm not finished yet. Just give me 5 more minutes and I'll finish and you can ask me something.
ठीक हूँ मैं ना, बैठे रहो ना, एक बार बोल करवा के ले आओ.
Okay, am I good? All right. Okay. So the final thing is to be patient. You have to be patient when you are listening something, when you are creating a habit, when you're creating this process, when you are engaging in this process of, the first steps towards learning the language, you have to be patient and you have to, give yourself the chance, give yourself the benefit of the doubt. अब हम लोग हमारे समय में और हमारी लाइफ में हर किसी को benefit of the doubt देते हैं खुद के अलावा. So give yourself the benefit of the doubt, give yourself the patience and the commitment that you will need. और आज के समय में I think it's we don't have an excuse not to do something, because, or not to learn English or not to know English, because it's everywhere around us. हर जगह social media में इतना ज़्यादा है. आपको कुछ post करने के लिए भी you need to understand, you need to know the language, you need to know the language, you need to understand the language. कुछ post करने के लिए भी, कुछ समझने के लिए भी, there is so much of fake news going around, and you need to know the language in order to identify कि कौन सी language की, कौन सी news की भाषा is so outrageous that it has to be fake. ठीक है? So so many things, there is no excuse of not knowing the language. However, this is something that I want to leave you with, that if you find yourself like I think that the key to all of this, the key to knowing the language, or the key to speaking the language, is confidence. And that confidence comes from knowing that it's okay if you mess up. Language grammatical honi chahiye, kisne kaha hai? I know, coming from a language teacher, that might be sounding extremely weird to you, but I'm also a linguist. And I understand and I know that so many of the structures that we use today would have been ungrammatical and atrocious 200 years ago. And 200 years ago or 400 years ago, when Shakespeare was writing, when Milton was writing, and all these other people were writing, if you look at the sentences, sometimes you will see sentences, or sometimes you will see structures that you will not use anymore today. Words have changed, words ki meanings change ho gaye hain, words ki new words have come into play. So language is ever changing. The confidence, your confidence should be from the fact that you are able to communicate whatever your ideas are to the person in front of you. उसमें अगर कभी-कभी grammatical एक दो mistakes हो जाती हैं, चलता है. However, I will also say that unfortunately or fortunately, हमारे देश में अंग्रेजी का एक हवा है, अंग्रेजी को हवा बना रखा है, नहीं आनी चाहिए, सही होना चाहिए, pronunciation सही होनी चाहिए, mother tongue influence नहीं होना चाहिए, ये नहीं होना चाहिए, वो नहीं होना चाहिए. I am a little bit, I do not agree to all of that. I agree that there is a हवा, and that आपको अपने करियर में आगे बढ़ने के लिए इस भाषा को आना चाहिए, इस भाषा, ये एक सच्चाई है, which I cannot, मैं इसको झुटला नहीं सकती. I cannot deny this reality that the country or your work culture today demands that you know the language. So you might as well have fun while learning it. ठीक है? So इस fun के लिए choose something that you love, listen to it, read it, develop a reading habit, start speaking in the language, use the language with your friends. And I have a few recommendations. There is an app called Cambly. The app is paid, but I have used the free version and it's extremely beneficial. और क्योंकि इसीलिए था कि मैं जब recommend करूँ किसी को, तो मुझे लगना चाहिए कि मैं सही चीज recommend कर दूँ. So the app gives you, it's a paid app. For a certain amount of money every month, you can speak to English speakers in any topic that you want to. अगर आपको, let's say, if you want to use if you know how to use the past tense, you can tell the tutor that I want to talk in past tense today. Let's have a conversation. So you will have conversation partners. This is obviously if you don't have friends, and like me, when you were growing up, you did not have any friends and you had to practice for yourself. So yes, the Cambly is an extremely it's an amazing app actually, because there are actual English tutors on the other side, and they will be conversing with you in any topic that you want. The second is to follow certain handles on Instagram. There are certain tutors and certain TESOL experts and IELTS experts and English language experts who are there on Instagram and who are there on Pinterest as well. And you can definitely follow them. And they put out daily reels and daily videos and etc. And you can follow them and you can learn a new word every day or learn a new concept every day. So use social media as much as you can. can for this purpose, for the purpose of learning English. And right now, if you have any issues, I can handle them and I can answer them. I think I would have also wanted to talk about a reading habit, but ठीक है, listening और reading में दोनों में same से नहीं है. You should I hope that whatever I said will help you out. Yes, Preeti ji.
Thank you so much, Madri ji. I think my students are very curious. Like, I think we listen to all these very knowledgeable facts from you and so many other things like many portals like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's so difficult to imbibe and have that consistent habit of learning. I think that's what is lacking. Also, like before my students ask, I think that's a very general question that I want to ask you. Maybe students wanted to ask you, but maybe because of the settings that we have just revised, they will not be able to do that. But I just wanted to ask, there are plenty of students who ask me, they have tenses on their tips. They know words on their tips. They know gerund, participle. They know everything. Unse pucho, they are like, they are like these factories of words and everything. But when it comes to actually making the sentence, they fail. Do you think it's just fear and insecurity regarding the language, or is it something like that? What are you like inputs on that?
I think fear and insecurity play a huge part in that, because hame and also a little bit I will blame the way we have been taught the language as well, because हमें बचपन से ही ग्रामर के कॉन्सेप्ट्स बताए जाते थे, ग्रामर के ये कॉन्सेप्ट्स सिखाए जाते थे कि देखो ये और डेफिनेशंस रटाए जाते थे कि पास्ट टेंस क्या होता है, participle क्या होता है, etc. But we we never used that in our classrooms as much as we should have. So yes, fear and insecurity definitely play a role in this, and that's why pedagogy nowadays is evolving from this definitional teaching the definition and teaching what exactly a gerund is to actually using the gerund. Because when I was teaching English and when I was teaching Hindi in at NYU, the activities that we would do, we would never teach grammar in class. All right, so grammar उनको दे दिया जाता था एक शीट पे पढ़ने के लिए घर पे, self actualization. Classroom में exclusively that object or that thing, whatever the grammatical purpose or whatever the learning outcome of that lesson was, classroom में सिर्फ उसी learning outcome के surrounding में activities design की जाती थी. And there would be activities which would involve interpersonal communication, a presentational communication, और इस अलग-अलग तरीके का, because the ultimate purpose of language is communication. So communication के लिए जो अलग-अलग तरीके के communication है, internal communication एक भी होता है. जैसे आप पढ़ते भी आप खुद अपने आप से communicate करते हो कि अच्छा ये चल रहा है, this is what I'm reading and this is what I'm understanding. When you are conveying that to another person, you are having interpersonal communication. When you are conveying it to an entire class, you are having presentational communication. So all these different kinds of communication को address करते हुए activities design की जाती है. I'll give you a small example. For example, Hindi में progressive है. Progressive is चल रहा है, दिया जा रहा है, or the passive कि दिया जाता है. जैसे तो passive समझाने के लिए, passive voice को समझाने के लिए, what we would do was we would make the children or make the students watch videos of Indian parade. जो हमारी 15 अगस्त की परेड होती है, 15 अगस्त की परेड में आपने नोटिस किया होगा this language is used. इन्हें अशोक चक्र से सम्मानित किया जाता है, ठीक है, तिरंगा लहराया जाता है. सो जाता है वाला जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, जाता है जो वाला जो फ्रेज है या जो स्ट्रक्चर है, वो समझाने के लिए हमें उनको वो वीडियो दिखाया. और वीडियो दिखाते वक्त दे आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, ओके, सो दिस बिकॉज दे ऑलरेडी हैव द ग्रामेटिकल कॉन्सेप्ट, they learned the grammatical concept by themselves, so now they are doing 1 plus 1. When the child or when the student actually sits down in class and works themselves, जब वो काम खुद करते हैं और टीचर सिर्फ फैसिलिटेट करता है. Nowadays this is what is happening in language pedagogy. Language pedagogy में teacher has become more of a facilitator than of an actual person who is saying कि अच्छा इस sentence को हम इस तरह से बोलते हैं, इस sentence को हम इस तरह से बोलते हैं. You will not believe, in the Spanish class which I was talking about, we would have this small ball जिसमें बहुत सारे fur ऐसे निकले हुए थे, and every 15 minutes minutes or so, the teacher would pass that ball around, और हम लोग जैसे वो हम आपके हैं कौन में वो तकिए वाला गेम नहीं था, तो उसी तरीके का गेम होता है, and जिसके पास भी वो बॉल आके रुकती है, that person has to say something which has been pre-decided कि इस बारे में बात करेंगे, या हमारे let's say अब हमारी hobbies के बारे में बात करेंगे, या हमारे fears के बारे में बात करेंगे, and the person has to talk about it. So the teacher is actually doing the facilitating at that point of time, and everybody else is actually walking. So when students start walking inside the classroom, एक दूसरे को देख के भी वो fear and insecurity, like I said, fear and insecurity is a huge part, and all of these exercises are actually targeted to get rid of that fear and insecurity. तो मुझे लगता है कि अगर classrooms में भी हम लोग को it becomes more we are given more responsibility now, especially आज की language pedagogy की क्षेत्र में, that we have to become the facilitators and help the students, not children, none of you are children anymore, the students get rid of that fear and insecurity. I hope I made sense.
Yeah. Another question is from Ocean. Ocean is asking that, how to discover your own style of writing and make it more unique, as sometimes reading a lot of books also makes us use the same kind of language and not experiment with our own writing style.
Okay. All right. So for this is something which I struggled with, क्योंकि मैं बहुत ज़्यादा thriller और बहुत ज़्यादा ये पढ़ती हूँ, तो usually what happens, at this one point of time, whenever I would sit down to write something, especially a short story, I would always start with it was a dark and stormy night. मतलब हर चीज dark and stormy night में ही शुरू होती है, because that's where I would begin, because ये thriller है और and I like reading thrillers and like writing thrillers, तो मुझे लगता है कि ऐसे ही begin होता होगा, it was a dark and stormy night. So yes, I did struggle with it a lot. So like I said, you need to experiment with your with your resources. You will write better when you read better, and it's impossible to exhaust the books in one particular genre. एक lifetime में तो नहीं होगा, तो impossible है. So if you read different authors, for example, in thriller itself, what Stephen King writes, Stephen King की writing और John Grisham की writing में बहुत फर्क है. Like you can read the two texts and you can know कि अच्छा ये King की writing होगी या ये Grisham की writing होगी, या even James Patterson, or you might know that J.K. Rowling has started writing a particular series, Robert Galbraith. J.K. Rowling has started writing a thriller series about this detective called Strider and his partner Robin, and she is writing it in the form under a pseudonym Robert Galbraith. So both, when you read J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and when you read Robert Galbraith, you see that there are various differences in the writing of these two authors. So authors भी experiment करते रहते हैं. The key is to find people who are experimenting. The key is to find authors who are, maybe if you don't want to deviate from the thriller genre or the genre of your liking, just find different authors. When you read different authors, then you will be able to write better. Because for my entire life, I'm 35 years old now, I have not been able to let go of the thriller genre at all. I have deviated in different media. For example, I read manga and anime and all these different sources, but I have not been able to let go of the thriller genre. Manga में भी horror manga ही पढ़ना है, और उसमें भी anime में भी horror anime ही पढ़ना है, या thriller anime ही पढ़ना है, या Korean TV series देखनी है तो Squid Game ही देखना है. तो इस तरीके का unfortunate है, but the point is there is so much variety. Even in one genre there is a lot of variety. So yes, so you have to write better, to experiment with your language, to know how to experiment with your language, because वो idea भी होना चाहिए ना कि कैसे experiment करें. What does it mean to experiment with your language? The only thing is to read different authors, and if you want to, read from different genres, but if you don't want to, just stick to different authors. That's going to be fine.
Rohit is just, I think Rohit, this, you can watch the recording. We're going to put this recording on Remedial Cell YouTube group. So you can watch again, and you can see all the pointers, because, every point is detailed with examples. And just a rejoinder, it's a funny rejoinder, Madri. that, I used to have a friend who was so keen on speaking English, and he was so insecure when it come to like talking to his peers in English. He said the best is when he talks to his dog. So he started talking to his dog, and he started talking to all these dogs, and like he said, it just really gave him confidence because they would not understand it, and it
No, it's
fixed it.
absolutely true, because it's amazing. Like, because dogs are such wonderful listeners, no? And I have this very this belief in my heart that all dogs understand me. So इसीलिए I can understand your friend as well. I empathize with them. So yes, you can do that. You can start doing that as well. In fact, मैं आपको एक छोटी सी story अपने my own brother की मैं आपको बताना चाहती हूँ कि my brother he's because I was always an overachiever and a high performer when I was growing up. I was the nightmare for younger siblings. जिसको younger siblings का nightmare होता है ना कि बड़ा भाई या बड़ी बहन के क्लास में हमेशा first आना है, 90% and above, and everybody is comparing you to the. So I was a nightmare for my brother. So he grew up very shadowed, like he grew up in my shadow. So he has this resentment, और उसको लगता था कि उसको नहीं आता है अंग्रेजी बोलना, और पढ़ाई लिखाई में भी उसका उतना ज्यादा ध्यान नहीं था, बहुत ज्यादा उत्पात करता था, and very बहुत बदमाश. But when I was in class 9th, this book came out called Sky is Falling by Sidney Sheldon. It had, obviously, because Sidney Sheldon is a little risque and it has a few adult scenes in year. So I was in class 9th, and my mom for some reason had the book, and I was reading the book, and she realized that I'm reading that book, and I was in class. She's like, no, you cannot read this book. I'm definitely taking this book off and I'm putting it in the cupboard. So she kept it in the cupboard के अंदर का, गोदरेज का जो अंदर का बंद रहता है ना, वो उसमें उन्होंने रख दिया. Now obviously my interest is completely peaked, like what is happening, why is she not letting me read the book? तो इसीलिए मुझे तो किसी तरह से निकालना ही है, तो मैंने कुछ करके वो किताब निकाली, रात के अंधेरे में कंबल के नीचे टॉर्च जलाकर रीडिंग. My brother obviously realizes कि ये क्या कौन सी किताब है ऐसी जो इसको इतना मजा आ रहा है पढ़ने में, मैं भी पढ़ूंगा. I am in 9th, my brother is in class 4th. ठीक है, उसके बाद उसने Sky is Falling से शुरुआत की और उसने वो किताब पढ़नी शुरू की, and then after that he just kept on reading, and the boy who could not frame a sentence, let's say सही से उसको बोलना भी नहीं आता था, he was so fluent by the end of, let's say, in 6th, 7th, he became a wonderful speaker. He started listening to Metallica and Sepultura and all these metal bands and everything, and his English completely, like, it changed. I wouldn't say overnight, but obviously it didn't happen overnight. But it happened that one night when he saw me reading Sky is Falling under the bed. So that is something. तो उसको उसके बाद और फिर जैसे म्यूजिक सुनने लगा तो म्यूजिक परफॉर्म भी करने लगा, गाना भी गाने लगा, and then that gave him a lot of confidence. So yes, that confidence is extremely important, and that can come from any source. You talk to a plant, you talk to your dog, you talk to the mirror, you just have to talk. That's all.
Okay, any more?
I mean, I know that's not all, because there's a lot of work that happens before you talk, but yes, that's our goal. That's what our goal is.
So I think there are not many questions at the moment. Also, the questions that were asked, I've already asked them. And students, you can always send your queries to us. We're going to put this recording on YouTube. And if you have any questions, you can always post them, and we can always have another session with Madri ma'am. And next time, we're going to take care that, people don't get to mute.
I just need to say something that I have, some of you might have, I just had an influx of followers on my Instagram. I just need to put out a disclaimer that I have along with English teaching, I also post a lot of political stuff on my Instagram. So if you are not ready to handle that, it's all right. But I just needed to give you the disclaimer as well, because along with English language learning, I also talk a lot of politics in my Instagram. So that is completely different from what you were seeing right here. So just in case, it's like a disclaimer. Also, this one recommendation which I have, if you need to start developing a reading habit, there are certain things which have really helped me when I was growing up. Obviously, you guys are all adults now, so you might not be interested in reading, let's say, a Tinkle or an Amar Chitra Katha or a manga. But there's a magazine called the Reader's Digest. I hope that some of you have heard of it. The Reader's Digest is an excellent source. Is an excellent source if you want to start your reading habit. because it's a monthly magazine, it comes every day. It has wonderful articles, it has inspirational articles, knowledgeable articles. It has a section called Word Power. And let me tell you, when every month, when the magazine came, that was the first section which I opened, because it had words, and it would ask you, it was like a multiple choice question test quiz, ki kaun sa meaning hai iska batao. And then they would have little pictures side mein which will be depicting the meaning, and you had to figure out from the picture what it means. So it was a wonderful exercise for me. I still remember so many words, like the fear of 13, fear of the number 13, triskaidekaphobia. I had no idea that there's something like that, and I remember that from the Reader's Digest exercises that I do. So Reader's Digest is an excellent, it will be an investment for your future. Trust me, take it for 6 months, take it for a year, and that's the one recommendation that I will leave you with.
So I think with that, such an interesting and good recommendation regarding Reader's Digest, I think you all should start a subscription, as you subscribe to very often the YouTube channels. I think just a small book can really help you recover your vocabulary deficit.
It absolutely can. It's wonderful. And also Reader's Digest accepts, they accept contributions from their readers. So you guys can, write in your experiences, and if you read, and they pay very well for the accepted articles.
Yeah.
Like for one joke itself, it's 1,000 rupees. So they pay very well.
I think it's also a very old venture. I remember when I was a child, my father used to read Reader's Digest, and we would see very interesting.
It is so good that it continues.
Yeah,
it's very good. It's like, that's why I'm saying, it's the one recommendation. If you don't buy any book, if you don't subscribe to any channel, that's one thing that I would ask you to do. Just get a Reader's Digest, read it from front cover to cover every month, and it will definitely help you. It still will.
Okay, so with that, I think we are at a venture where we are going to say thanks to all the students, guests who have joined us. And thank you so much, Madri, for joining us today and doing this session. And I apologize for all the, small nick.
No, it's all right. It happens. Glitches happen. It's all right. Absolutely fine.
But we would really
love you so much.
We love to see you offline also, and do come visit our college one day. And really thankful to our institution, our principal sir, who keeps on encouraging us, saying that, get best people for our students so that our students can learn. And there is more to come. And thank you once again, everybody. Thanks, Madri. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Preeti ji, and thank you all of you for being here and staying till the end. And yeah, I would look forward to doing this again. If you have any questions, you can give them to Preeti ji, and she'll be definitely letting me know about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye.